Hi! Hello on this very, very special day. We're celebrating a birthday today. Today is Amanda's birthday with TATMOMA and the Beg Brigade. I will link her below so you can go check in on her and make sure that the Beg Brigade is minding their manners. Ryan's at boxing, and so I'm just sitting here as part of the Slow Knitters Club working on my sock. It is the My Favorite Sock pattern by the Unapologetic Knitter, and the pattern is called My Favorite Vanilla Sock. I'm sitting in the car and I have the windows up, but it got warm, so we have the sunroof popped open. We have an interesting soundtrack this afternoon for our visit. The yarn I'm using is a sock weight single that I got at Jimmy Bean Wools. I like to work my socks, I think I've said this about 1,000,000 times. I like to work my socks 2 at a time, not on the same set of cables. I bought 2 sock weight 9-inch circulars, and I work cuff, cuff, leg, leg. From cuff to leg is 6 inches. Isn't that pretty? It's working out gorgeous. So I got this one up to 6 inches, and then I'm up to cuff. Just ended the ribbing, so I'm starting the long journey in the knit of the leg. So I thought maybe, since I'll be sitting here waiting an hour for Ryan, that we could talk. Hi! I saw that Sam over at Manfa Makes had one of those fun questionnaire tags a while ago. And Nova over at Nova Gnome Creations tagged me a while ago. And today, Brenda Bear over at Bear Crochet Critters tagged me. Craft Critters. I will tag all 3 of those people, or mention all 3 of those people in the description box below. No, Fly. I don't need any help. I got this. If I drop a stitch, it's my own. She had a question tag about favorite stitches, crochet stitches, least favorite. Let's see. So I wrote them down. I jotted them down. I thought, give me something to talk about with you today. Please feel free to answer along as we go. If you haven't been tagged in this and you are a content creator, or you've been thinking about possibly making your own videos, I highly encourage you to jump on this very fun bandwagon, and we can see a vast array of answers. Kaleidoscope of information. The first question is, what is your favorite stitch for wearables? Crochet wearables. You don't like the half double crochet. Yes, it moves fast, but it's so holy. And I live in California. It gets warm. There's no way I want to layer up a yarny garment. Either it's light enough and breezy enough that it's going over the top of something. No double crochets. Single crochets in a plus size wearable, that takes time. Half double crochet all the way. Unless it's a decorative stitch like the seed stitch, where you're doing a double crochet and then cinching it down with a single or a slip. Makes a beautiful texture in a garment. Especially if you're choosing a solid color. I believe the texture will support the creativity of the item. Here we go. We got a homemade motorcycle. Man's driving a bag of cans. Texture, if you're using one color, the little seed stitch is nice, and they all have many different names. Let's see. If you've got a lot of color in your wearable, I like a very, very simple half double. Maybe get fancy. Do the back loop only. Come on, fly guy, get out of here. Let's see. The next one is favorite stitch for household items. When I make household items, I like using cotton. If it's something I'm going to use as a scrubby, texture's awesome. Again, that seed stitch, you do a double in a slip or a double in a single, and it cinches it down and pops it out. It's a nice one. Also, if I'm using that household scrubby yarn, it doesn't need much. You're working into the gaps. You can't really see your stitches anyway. I think the key to a household item for me would just be to small hook, crochet tight, because I'm gonna get a lot of wear. I'd like to introduce you to the co-host of visiting time today. Fly guy over here wants to learn to knit. Get out of here. Let's see. My favorite blanket stitch. Well, I don't enjoy the long dedication it takes to make a blanket. I've made very, very few. A chevron or one of those fan and feather situations to help to break up the long lengths. I just feel like my blankets get to a point where they just stop growing after a while. I definitely do not like granny square blankets. I have such a hard time dedicating myself to stitching all those squares together. Not my favorite. Let's see. Least favorite join. Least favorite joins. I don't like hand sewing. Even when I do the amigurumi, if it's got too many ears, tails, nose, I make all the pieces and then it sits for a few days on timeout thinking about what it's done to me before I stitch it together. That's just my way. A stitch that I have not yet tried, but I want to. I did a pattern test for a tapestry once, and it was like a raglan type sweater, and in the top part it had bees and beehives on it. Oh, I think it was Eclair was the lady's name. Absolutely gorgeous. Everyone's turned out so beautiful. I'm left-handed. Everything was kind of lean to the side. I had to read the pattern backward and had a really rough time with it. I'd really like to try that again. And because I had such a difficult time with the tapestry and having it turn out the way I thought that it should, after I spent so much time, kind of a little bah humbug about it. So mosaic goes right in there with the tapestry. I was kind of thinking the tapestry was like an introductory to the mosaic. I love the way all that patterning and imaging comes out. Oh, it's so beautiful, especially in knit too. Color work in knit, I'd love to have confidence when it comes to changing out colors and holding them and carrying them. I'm good with carrying them in crochet, but I'd really like to do some more work with that. I haven't tried mosaic. I'd like to try mosaic. Crochet stitching you enjoy, like traditional mosaic, tapestry, Afghans. I like the amigurumi. I love making, there's this special moment where you're making a little character and all of a sudden you look down and it resembles what you had envisioned, and the personalities there. I love that moment. And it's not always when you put the eyes on. Sometimes it's much later when you're putting on some last little details like eyebrows or a wink or a smile or pink cheeks or just something random. You never know when yarn is going to come to life. I love that moment. That is definitely a very, very special moment in crafting for me. And moving down, most impressive stitch. So there's a blanket that my aunt crocheted, and she only uses her scrap yarn for it, and she does the Apache tiers. So you go on for a certain amount of stitches, and then you have a stitch that hangs real low and it drops, and it shifts over every row 1 stitch until it gets to the very end, and then it starts back at the other end with all the colors and all the ends, which she didn't even bother sewing in the ends. She made her ends tassels. No ends to sew in, and it's that impressive. And I've got a whole box of scrap yarns. I'm impressed with Apache tiers. It looks super complicated. It just looks like it takes all the skills in the world. But to actually sit there and break it down, the impressiveness is in the keeping it uniform. It truly a beautiful, beautiful blanket, beautiful stitch. Let's see. Oh, stitch that I least like doing that I avoid. Well, tapestry. It's always slanted. When I get the little graph, I gotta read it backward or flip it and hope that it's symmetrical on both sides of the graph. That helps. If there's any bit of personality or it's a character or something that's not completely uniform, got that southpaw thing going. And the very last question from Manfa Makes is my favorite stitch. When I first started crocheting beanies, I stumbled across a pattern by Crochet Crowd, and I will link it below. It is a beanie, and it is a star stitch beanie. I really enjoyed it. It made such a beautiful beanie. I've made quite a few of them since. It's an interesting one. So you chain 2, and then you're working down the chain, but you're working them like a cluster. You're like keeping the loops on your hook. So you work down your chain 2, and then at the base of your chain, you're grabbing a loop, and then you're working 2 forward. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then as you're throwing them back off your hook, it's creating a star. And then the row that goes over the top of it just rebuilds that base that you're going to work back into the next time around. And Mikey at the Crochet Crowd did an incredible job with that tutorial. I had absolutely no problem with it when I first picked up my hooks again when the girls were little, and I didn't have a lot of focus, didn't have a lot of patience, and I really needed something to ground myself again. And the star stitch beanie, it did that for me. It really did. Thoroughly enjoyed it. You could do it with any color combinations. You could, any size. He really breaks down the different sizing on it. And then that's one of those yarn inspiration patterns, so you can print it out for free and work along with Mikey, or ditch Mikey and read the pattern. It also really helps if you can find a pattern and a tutorial that go together, and you could listen to what the instructor's saying and look at the pattern written and graph and follow along. It helps cement all 3 of those aspects of the fiber art together. Well, that's it. I kind of just zipped through the 10. It helped that when Nova tagged me, thank you, Nova, hi, that I wrote them down, and then I thought about the answers for a few days, and then wandered off into whatever it is I was thinking and doing and forgot all about it. But I did write them down in my Granny Square $1.25 store notebook that I like using for ideas. So I have that. Well, it's only been about 15 minutes, but that's what I really wanted to talk to you guys today about. Birthdays, favorites, yarn, check in, show you guys what I'm working on, what I'm up to. And I guess that's it. Till next time, I'll check back in when I make some space on here. And I started some rearranging in my room today. Pulled out some storage totes, unpacked some storage totes, arranged some materials out of a storage tote. I think I'm creating a nice little space. I'll be happy to share that with you in a few days too. And that's about it. Goodbye. Thank you for coming and visiting with me today. I enjoyed seeing you, visiting with you. Take care.